Welcome to the Waterpolo Champions League highlights. A great round for the guests, 6 away wins in round 3. Olympiacos won in Craigievats, Mladost in Budapest, and the biggest surprise of them all, Sabadell won in Marseille. These are the results of round 3. Vasas Mladost 10-13, Novi Beograd, Jadran Novi 11-12, Recco, Jadran split 15-9, Oradea Brescia 11-16, Radnicki Olympiacos 12-13, Ferencvaros Primorac 26-15, Marseille Sabadell 11-12, Hannover Barceloneta 11-27. Vasas had the perfect chance laid out before them. Taking points at home against Mladost would have kept their hopes of advancing very much alive. Mladost, meanwhile, came into this one fresh from a crucial win over Radnicki, eager to prove that that performance was not a one-off. Konstantin Karkov, the game's top scorer, offered an early glimpse of what was to come, opening his account from the 5-metre line. The Hungarian side didn't wait long to respond. Domonkoseli Rausha and Tamás Gajafash turned the tide, giving Vasas their first, and as it turned out, their only lead of the match. But Mladost hit right back. New faces, Ivan Nagaev and Viktor Toncic, made their mark, both finding the net to restore the Croatian advantage. Then came a quieter second half. Goals suddenly hard to come by. Only 3 in total. Gabor finally broke a 6-minute drought, converting a man up to give Vasas a glimmer of hope. But even Buljashevic and Karkov were the ones to fire Mladost back in front. 3-5. 16 minutes still stood between Mladost and their first European away win. They knew it wouldn't come easy. So they made sure to start the penultimate quarter in the best possible way, with a strong, confident run that set the tone for what followed. Karkov and Josip Verlic brought the advantage to +4. It took over 7 minutes, but Dome Dala got Vasas back on board, with Drdic joining in soon after. Both sides traded one more goal, bringing the score to 6-8. With the final 8 minutes of truth, the question lingered. Is it going to be the vice-champions of Hungary or Croatia? Verlic opened what would turn out to be the most explosive quarter of the game. But just as Mladost stretched their lead to +3, Vasas responded swiftly, cutting the gap back to 1. The home side simply refused to bow down. A 3-goal blitz from Vasas forced Kolos twice, Darlo once, and the home crowd erupted as the scoreboard read even for just the 3rd time. And just like that, no one could tell which way this one was heading. Franko Lasic kept his composure, converting the man-up opportunity with just under 3 minutes left on the clock. Moments later, Andrea Basic took his chance, and with a touch of luck, his shot found its way past Martin Misty. The home side still had their chances as time ticked away, but the wall named Ivan Marcelic stood firm. 11 saves in total, matching his counterpart at the other end, and several of them coming at the most critical moments, just as Vasas began to stir and threaten a full comeback. And just when the curtain was about to fall, Luka Bukic struck his first. A statement finish from Mladost, showing they're right where they belong, in the thick of the quarter-final stage race. The 3rd round was full of great matches, one of which played in Belgrade. The current runner-up of Europe welcomed Jadran from Novi at their pool. The Serbs had a better start in this match. Vasilije Martinovic put them in the lead in the first minute. Shortly after, Vuk Milojevic was precise. The first goal for the guests in the middle of the first quarter was scored by Vasilije Radovic. Filip Jankovic immediately returned the lead to +2 in the next attack. However, just a few seconds later, Jadran returned to the game through Strahina Gojkovic with an extra player. Nevertheless, Nikola Lukic ensured that the host goes to the first break with a somewhat more serious advantage. In the second quarter, there was a very long period without any goals. Namely, for 4.5 minutes, neither team managed to find a way to the net. And then Gojkovic broke the silence, scoring from the field for 4-3. The Montenegrins did not stop there, but through Jovan Vojovic, they reached the equaliser for the first time. Their streak was continued by Đorđe Lazić, who converted an extra player opportunity towards the end of the first half. So Jadran led 5-4 at half-time with 3 consecutive goals. If you thought that was the end of the great play by the guests, you were mistaken. Right at the beginning of the third quarter, Vasilije Radovic took the team from Herceg Novi to the biggest lead of +2. During that period of play, Novi Beograd went without a goal for a staggering 11 minutes. That incredible streak was broken in an incredible way, with a goal by goalkeeper Milan Glusac. But just 9 seconds later, the spirited Gojkovic returned to +2 with a goal with an extra player. The third quarter was very efficient. Next up was Miloš Čuk again with an extra player. Goals with a numerical advantage in the pool continued, as the action was finished in the same way by Matija Sladovic. Viktor Urošević quickly brought the Serbs back into the game with a goal on full defence. However, Jadran did not let go of the lead, and Gojkovic was joined by Vasilije Radovic. To bring the game into complete uncertainty, Vasilije Martinovic scored with an extra player just 3 seconds before the end of the third quarter. Not only that, Čuk brought Novi Beograd back into the game at the beginning of the last quarter. A new advantage for the team from Herceg Novi was brought by Dimitri Kolod a minute later. The next minutes were crucial for this game. With a goal from the centre position, Jovan Vojovic returned to the usual +2. But the moment that definitely decided the game was 3 minutes before the end, when Đorđe Lazić emerged on the counter-attack and scored for an unreachable 9-12. Čuk brought back some hope 2 minutes before the end with an extra player. All the hosts managed to do in the end was reduce it to 11-12, but that penalty goal by Vasilije Martinovic was scored only 6 seconds before the end. Jadran were led to victory by Gojkovic and Radovic with 3 goals each, while Čuk and Martinovic were the most effective for Novi Beograd, also with 3 goals. It was very clear before the match that Pro Recco was an overwhelming favourite to win the match against Jadran Split. The Italian champions came into this match with 2 clear victories in previous rounds, while the Croats were on last place with 2 losses. Pro Recco showed early on how dangerous they are. Biac in Jadran's goal had very little help from his teammates in the first quarter, and the Italians used it well, shooting from outside every chance they got. The Croatian champions stayed close at the beginning of the match, but mid-first quarter, Pro Recco staged a quick counter-attack that Presciuti converted for 3-1. Cannella quickly raises the bar with a rocket from 6 metres for 4-1. Although Fatovic reduced the advantage with a shot through Nikosha's head, Jadran couldn't stop Pro Recco. By the end of the first quarter, it was already 6-2. Granados with a pinpoint pass for Buric, who was left unattended by Jadran in defence. That was not the end of the Pro Recco bulldozer. At the beginning of the second quarter, they scored 2 quick goals for 8-2. Just how dangerous is Pro Recco can be described by the fact that the first 7 goals were scored by 7 different players. The match was effectively decided after that lead. At one point in the third quarter, Pro Recco was leading by 8 after Cassius scored his 4th of the match. Jadran answered with 3 goals in a row. Butic, Berahulak and Matkovic reduced the deficit to 5, but Pro Recco was simply too strong. It finished 15-9 for the Italian champions. The final score was set with another excellent Granados assist, this time for De Fulvio. Pro Recco is first in the group after 3 rounds with 3 wins. Jadran is last with 3 losses. Group C's earlier clash saw Oradea go head-to-head with Brescia. 2 teams level on points and equally hungry for an edge in the battle for second place, the golden ticket to continue their Champions League adventure. Oradea's only moment of early joy came from Sebastian Oltien's sharp strike from the left back. From that point on, the tide shifted. Brescia flipped the script with 4 unanswered goals, while Oradea even squandered a penalty opportunity. 2 moments stood out. First, Tommaso Giannazza finished off a brilliant team play with a perfect touch. Then, just 38 seconds later, Jacopo Alessiani added flair with a delicate lob. 3-6, and the momentum was fully Italian. The second half slowed down in scoring, but not in intensity. Filip Gardashevich broke the deadlock, redeeming his earlier missed penalty to cut the gap to 2. But they kept firing. 4 more goals followed, with Philip Ferrero's hat-trick powering the charge. By half-time, you could have picked almost anyone from the lineup. Chances are they'd already scored. Well, half of Brescia, that is. Well, half of the team did. 4-10. I Leoni roared on. It took Oradea 8.5 minutes to find the back of the net. And even then, it came as a relief through a penalty shot. Ivan Gusurov was the one to convert, his name standing alone on the scoresheet for quite some time. The pattern repeated itself, just a single goal in the third quarter. Make that 2. Gardashevich was clinical this time, capitalising on the extra player opportunity. 6 scorers turned into 9 by the final 8 minutes. 6-14. But here's the twist. The last quarter actually went to the home side. Brescia clearly took their foot off the gas. How else would you explain only 2 goals scored in the final period? And what a show it was from Filip Gardashevich. After Oltien's man-up goal, the stage belonged entirely to the Montenegrin. 3 in a row, a full attacking showcase, man-up conversions, a counter-attack, pure precision, you name it. Before Gardashevich sealed his 4th and final goal of the match, Alessandro Balzarini managed to sneak in a long-range effort from 6 metres, Brescia's only 2nd goal of the quarter. Oradea nearly matched everything they'd scored before, all in that final quarter. 11-16 as the final score. Brescia took home a valuable set of points, edging closer to securing their place in the next stage of the competition. A loss in Zagreb to Mladost meant that Radnicki needs to beat Olympiacos at home to stay in the chase for the quarter-final group. Not an easy task, considering that the Greek champions won the first two matches against Mladost and Vasas. The Greeks started well. Their defence was immaculate almost the entire first quarter. Radnicki scored their first goal 1 minute and 25 before the end of the first 8 minutes. Radnicki closed the quarter with his first goal of the match for a 3-1 Greek lead. The hosts woke up in the second quarter, Volakopoulos with a cunning shot for 2-3. Olympiacos had a 2-goal advantage again. Papanastasio could have made it 3 in the counter-attack, but Filipovic denies it. Perlanovic makes it close again. It's 4-5 after his penalty shot, but Radnicki is on point again. In the last seconds of the half, the Hungarian scores his second goal of the night for a 2-goal advantage. After Nikolaidis scored for a 3-goal advantage for Olympiacos, it seemed that the Greek champions are going to run away with it. Instead, Radnicki manages to reduce the deficit once again. After Dedovic uses the counter-attack, Vapensky brings it close. Konstantinos Kakaris is one of the best centres in the world. This action shows you why. A swift turn, execution, and Olympiacos is up 2 again for 6-8. The Serbian answer is quick and deadly. 3 goals in a row for the first Radnicki lead in the game. After a great Perlanovic pass from the half court, Volakopoulos makes it 9-8. The third quarter finished like the previous two. It's Radnicki once again. This time he equalises, 10-10. The last quarter started the same way the third finished. Radnicki scores his 4th goal, and this time it's from a penalty shot. Gikilas makes it 2 for Olympiacos after a very crafty lob that Filipovic could only watch as it bounced off the post and straight into the net. But Radnicki was not giving up. First Perlanovic from a penalty shot, and then Mersheric with a great goal from the centre position, making it 12-12. Both teams had a chance to lead again. Olympiacos was 2 players up when Genadinias' shot was stopped by Filipovic. In the counter-attack that followed, Radnicki gets the penalty. Perlanovic was already out of the pool with 3 fouls, so Volakopoulos took over. Zerdeves finished the match with 12 saves, but this time it was not necessary. His Greek compatriot hit the bar. 50 seconds before the end of the match, it was time for the situation we've seen so many times in this match. Radnicki on the right side of the attack gets fouled and scores after that. The last goal of the quarter, as he did in all previous ones, the 5th of the match from 5 shots. It finished 12-13, and it's a 3rd win for Olympiacos, a 2nd loss in a row for Radnicki. The Serbian champions have to win all remaining matches in the group to stay in contention. The European champions Ferencvaros were heavy favourites even before the opening whistle against Champions League returnees Primorac Kotor. To recap, the Hungarians entered this 3rd round clash with 2 wins from 2, while the Montenegrins were still searching for their first points after a pair of defeats. The opening quarter was the most balanced. Although the home side led, Primorac kept them nervous and prevented them from breaking away. The visitors could have made things even tighter. At 2-1, Marko Meršić missed a penalty, and on the very next counter-attack, Jancic punished them, making it a 2-goal game. And then Meršić announced that he was ready for a big night with a rocket of his own. The first break saw the Frari leading by just 1. The second quarter, however, proved decisive. When Chetkovic scored on a counter for 8-7, it looked like the Montenegrins might stay in the fight. But then came a huge Ferencvaros run. First, Agriopoulos struck from a distance to make it +2, and that was just the beginning of a stunning 6-goal streak. Inaba missed another penalty for Primorac in the meantime, denied by the brilliant Sommer Vogel, who replaced the struggling Martin Levi in goal. By half-time, the hosts had stretched the lead to 5. The 6th goal in that dominant run came from Vismeg with a beautifully placed shot. Primorac went 5 long minutes without a goal before Mrsic finally broke the drought on a power play. Mrsic was outstanding for the visitors, finishing with an impressive 7 goals. In the 3rd quarter, we even saw a bizarre one. Agriopoulos' shot deflected off Perov's back and found its way into the net. Agriopoulos led the Ferraris, scoring with 5 goals, and he also set up a lovely play late in the match that Miguel Del Toro finished off in style. Jancic wrapped things up with a counter-attack goal, sealing a dominant 26-15 victory. Ferencvaros stayed perfect with 3 wins from 3, while Primorac are still searching for their first points in this year's Champions League campaign. Marseille and Sabadell came into this match with completely different attitudes. Marseille has beaten Barceloneta away, and Sabadell lost against Hannover in a match that they had in their hands. The hosts started well. Vernu scored from outside in his typical fashion for 1-0. That was the only lead Marseille had in this match. Sabadell quickly turned it around after this goal from Vergara. It was 1-2 for the Spaniards. Vergara scored again for another Sabadell lead, but Larumbre equalises from the right side with a right hand for 3-3. Sabadell continued with good plays in the 2nd quarter and have managed to create a 2-goal advantage. Averka scores in a man-up situation from the left wing. It's 6-8 for Sabadell. Spajic answers nicely from the post. At the half-time, it's 7-8 for the guests. The 3rd quarter started with both teams locking their goals. Nobody scored for more than 5 minutes. Marseille comes back again. Nagy from the left wing for 8-8. But not for long. Sabadell is on the run again. After this Averka goal, they have +2 again, and that's how the 3rd quarter finished. Bouet is on target at the beginning of the last quarter. Marseille is 1 behind again, but Averka was on fire. After the foul, the Belarusian scores his 3rd of the night for 9-11. Sabadell scored once more mid-4th quarter. Vermeer reacts quickly for 10-12. 4 minutes and 27 seconds before the end, Nagy sends a missile to the net. It's 11-12 with plenty of time for Marseille to come back. Surprisingly, that was the last goal of the match, and Sabadell has managed to win in Marseille, a feat not regularly seen in the Champions League. The Spaniards are now back in the fight, with Marseille complicating a very good start to the season. Hannover welcomed Barceloneta in front of their home crowd for a clash in which the Spanish champions entered as the heavy favourites. Right from the start, the Catalan side made it very clear that they were on another level. 4 minutes in, 4 goals up. Roger Tahul opened the scoring in Barceloneta's very first attack on the power play, and soon after Vince Vigvari made it 4-0. Hannover finally broke their drought after almost 6 minutes when Mark Ganson found the net. The teams then traded goals, and just a second before the end of the first period, Zoran Bosic converted a man-up chance to bring the deficit down to 3. The 2nd quarter started much like the first, only this time Barceloneta struck 3 times in a row. When Roger Tahul scored again from the centre for a 6-goal lead, the game was as good as done. Hannover showed brief flashes of resistance, like when Marek Langiewicz scored with an extra player to make it 5-10, but Vigvari's late goal restored the 6-goal lead at half-time. The real collapse for Hannover came in the 3rd period. In just over 4 minutes, they conceded 6 straight goals. Alberto Munarriz struck right off the sprint, and Gonzalo Echenique continued the stunning run for a massive 19-7 lead. The Germans conceded 9 goals in that quarter while scoring only 2, one of them a Janssen penalty. Barceloneta started the final period as powerfully as the previous ones, netting 3 in a row. Gergely Burian made it 25-9 with another power play goal. Lazar Vukicevic converted a penalty for Hannover's last goal of the night before Vigvari closed the game with an extra player finish to set the final score at 11-27. This marks the heaviest defeat of any team this season in the competition so far. Olympiacos, Recco and Ferencvaros are still unbeaten and leading their groups. Sabadell winning in Marseille means there are now 3 teams without a win after round 3. Vasas, Primorac and Jadran split have to wait only a week for another chance to win their first points. We'll see you next week.